Hey VC, it's Joel coming at you from Planet 13, and this is my November-December haul. Stuff I've picked up since Record Store Day, which includes some things from Record Store Day. It's a more larger haul than normal because I spent a lot of Christmas money on vinyl. Everyone kind of had sales. In Canada, we have something called Boxing Day where things are dirt cheap, usually like 20 to 30% off. So a lot of vinyl that I was watching, I picked up. Anyway, I'm just going to whip through a lot of this stuff really quickly. I want to keep it under half an hour. And yeah, I'll probably talk about something for a minute or two and then move on. And I won't show things as in depth as I normally do. So first album I picked up, Melinda, she got this recently. And it is Aerosmith's Nine Lives. I'm trying to get every Aerosmith album on vinyl. I'm pretty close to my goal. I got about 6 more remaining. And yeah, so the big hits on here were Pink and what else is on there? Falling in Love is Hard on the Knees, Hole in My Soul. I Don't Want to Miss a Thing is on here as well, but that wasn't on the original album. They've kind of tacked that on. So it's a 2 LP album, really great. You got some custom inner sleeves that are nice and cool. And yeah, just an all-out good album. I don't think it's one of their best or considered one of their best, but for me, it's a 10 out of 10. I enjoyed it. Next album I got, I kind of thought it was a studio album, but it turns out it's like more of a bootleg live album, and it is Death Angel. So I thought it was a studio album because it's got a really nice cover, really artistic, painted cover. It doesn't look like a bootleg, but they didn't even know this was coming out. This is on 2 LPs. They're white, so I was happy with this. I thought it was just like I'd get a studio album. I know their song Bored is a big video hit up here in Canada. If you don't know who Death Angel are, they sound like really heavy. They're not incredibly heavy though. They don't have like Cookie Monster vocals. Really cool band. They're more like Metallica, a little heavier than Metallica, but Metallica kind of, I guess they call it thrash sensibility. They're not like heavy like Slayer, but they're around that area. Anyway, cool album. Glad I got it. Next album I got, I saw Jamie talking about it, Jamie Cottle, when he was doing his record store day, and then I had the urge. I had to run out to more record stores, and I found this. Melinda also has it too. I liked her comment on it that all Doors albums should be on black vinyl. I agree with her. And it's the Doors live from the Isle of Wight Festival. So I'm a big Doors fan, but I'm not a huge Doors fan. I do intend to eventually get their albums on vinyl. I don't have any yet, but I have all their albums on cassette and CD, and they're not something I return to a lot anymore. But it comes in phases, you know. You have those Doors moods. And I do appreciate that this is live. It kind of sets the mood, puts you in a good frame of mind. I know a lot of people weren't happy with the DVD. I believe this does sound better. I haven't seen the DVD to compare, but from what I've read on forums and such, a lot of people say this does sound better than what was on the DVD live concert that was released. I think the DVD had like overdubs with some drum machine, some motorcycle noises or something. This doesn't have any of this. This sounds fantastic. Jim wailing and screaming and crying is just, it sends chills up my spine. And for an album that's, you know, this was recorded in, I think, 1970 or something. I forget. For something that's like 50 years old, it sounds fantastic. And I have number 2,815. Everyone seems to mention their number, so that's the number I got. Next album I got, it's Primus. So this was 15 Canadian dollars, which is like, I don't know, like 10, 12 American dollars. Had to get it. I'm not like a huge Primus fan, but I do appreciate what they do. So they're very bass heavy, very eccentric. This is based on some Goblin children's story. So I've never heard of the children's story, but 7 goblins, something, something, something. What's really cool about this album, though, it comes on... it comes on like this rainbow vinyl. It's really cool. So, yeah, for like $12, you can't lose. And it's a great listen. I don't think I'll play it a lot, but I appreciate this album. Some say it's like one of their worst. But when they have a lot of cool albums, I guess, you know, you always have to have something in the bottom. And it's not bad by any means. And I just love that inner center too, that like the inner sleeve. really rainbowy. That's an extra touch. Next album I got, it's my first Ramones album on vinyl. So I was a huge Ramones fan, still am, but I kind of wore myself out on them. And why I say I was a huge Ramones fan is that between like 1994 and 1996, I saw them 23 times live. Some people, when they graduate from high school, they go to Europe. Me, I decided to follow the Ramones on tour for their Acid Eaters tour. And yeah, like concerts for them were like $5 to $15 in bars. And I had a fake ID. And me and my buddy, we just kind of followed them through Canada and the States, and it was awesome. And I saw them on supporting tours for Adios Amigos after, and their farewell tours. So this is the Ramones' Road to Ruin. And of course the big hit on here is I Want to Be Sedated. Yeah, great. I'm eventually going to get all the Ramones albums on vinyl. I just have no rush. I have them all on CD and cassette. So this would be my third time dipping in. And of course, like most people, third time dipping in, you're not in a rush. But yeah, it sounds great. Next album I got is Def Leppard. I've seen Def Leppard live about 8 times, and last time I saw them live was in the summer of 2019. And I say they are getting, there's a lot of bands who are, need to turn it in, some people say, because they're getting bad. I disagree with that statement. I think bands should just keep going because no one's replacing them. And yeah, they're not in their prime, but it's a fun time for everyone. And people call bands touring a cash grab. I disagree. They get used to a lifestyle. They need to support themselves. They need to leave money for their kids. We all have the same needs. I know concert tickets are expensive now, but album sales have gone down. People aren't buying albums anymore. We are. But a lot of people are streaming and, downloading illegally. And, yeah, do what they can. So I think Def Leppard is one of the bands. There's very few bands I'd put in this tier. But Def Leppard is one of them. Alice Cooper, Cheap Trick. I think they're better than ever, in my opinion. ZZ Top is fantastic, too. Granted, they don't run around the stage like they used to, but they don't need to. Well, actually, Def Leppard does run around the stage quite a bit. When you do see them too, like they come out and they do an acoustic set, and they show that there's no backing tracks; it's all live, and it's really awesome. They're touring with Motley Crue and Poison and Joan Jett this summer in the States. If you have the chance to see them, I recommend you do. Just be aware, Motley Crue's kind of hit or miss live. Sometimes you catch them and they're awesome. Sometimes you catch them and they're eh. And I don't think Motley Crue will have like the full pyro show because they're playing, I think they're second to Def Leppard. But Def Leppard is fantastic. Make sure you stick around for them. This is a great album. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people love it. This is what many people consider Def Leppard selling out. This sounds awesome on vinyl. This sounds spectacular. I only had it on cassette, and the cassette I had was a weird copy. There was it only had like side A on side A and side B, so you'd flip and you'd hear side A again. And so I only heard half this album before, and now I finally get to hear it in its full glory. Next album I got, it's Rolling Stones, Exile on Main Street. So Stones are another band that I'd like to get on vinyl. This came down in price significantly, so I snatched it up. It was 30 Canadian, usually rents for like 54 Canadian. This isn't the slowed down version. That's a little more pricey. This is just like the 2 LP version. There's none of the postcards inside. This is an album. This was the second Stone album I got. The first one I got was Sticky Fingers. And then I got this, and I didn't like it initially. I got it in 1994. You got to consider back then I was more into like Ramones, Green Day, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails. And I got this and I was like, I don't see the big deal about the Stones. But then one day I just kind of sat down and I'm like, I need to just digest this. And I did. And it's now become one of my favorite Stones albums. It's long and it's great. Next album I got is Soft White Underbelly, as Steve Carlson calls it, or Blue Oyster Cult Mirrors. So yeah, great album. Not heavy. This is more like just kind of rock. rock and roll. You know, maybe Deep Purple-ish, I guess, in some regard. Great album. I haven't, again, it's really my first time kind of hearing it. If someone can explain this to me, they told me, and this is probably one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it, but there's two sperm like clouds. They look like sperm. I can't see it. If someone ever wants to point that out to me, I googled it. I couldn't find anything. I don't know if it's a rumor, but yeah, apparently two of these clouds look like sperm. I don't see it. Maybe it's even on the front cover. I don't see it. Great album. I got this compilation album from Germany. It's called The Heavyway. It's supposed to come with an iron-on patch according to Discogs, but mine didn't, unfortunately. Yeah, just a great little compilation. So it's got Dio, The Last in Line. It's got Lita Ford, Let It Go. TNT, Seven Seas. Rush, Between the Wheels. Black Sabbath, Digital Bitch. Status Quo, Rockin' All Over the World. Bon Jovi doing Breakout. Picture, who I've never heard of. They're doing Eternal Dark. Kiss doing Lonely as a Hunter. And Nazareth doing This Month's Messiah. Yeah, fun album. I'm glad I got it. Compilation. Good compilation. I'm kind of moving into my Canadian content to steal something from Jamie Cottle. This was an album or a band that was huge in Canada. They're not from Canada, but they're from the UK, but it's the Monks. This is their second album, Suspended Animation. The first album is Bad Habits. Very huge seller in Canada. This one wasn't as huge. Still, it's a good album. If you're a Monks fan, this is worth getting, except one song I would say would be considered super racist today, and there's a song that is called I Can Do Anything You Like, and the guy sings it like with an Indian accent, like Apu from The Simpsons. So it's kind of like you hear that now and you're kind of like, eh. So this is one of the, yeah, that's all I can say about that. But overall, the album's good. I don't think the guy was being mean or anything when he did it, but now it is considered mean. A lot of people consider Apu offensive from The Simpsons, and I think, I don't know if they changed his voice or not. I forget. Next album I got, another Canadian band or singer, Nick Gilder. So his big hit was Hot Child in the City, and he did Roxy Ruler as well. I don't know if his Roxy Ruler was a cover or an original, because Stacey Q, was it Stacey Q? No, it wasn't Stacey Q. It was a girl. She was on Happy Days. She got started in Happy Days. I can't remember her name right now. But yeah, this is a great album. It was a fun album. And another Canadian band I picked up. This is pure, like, if you're a big fan of Bon Jovi's era of Bad Medicine and all that stuff, you'd like this. Or Lita Ford. If you like Lita Ford, you'd like this Canadian gal. It's Lee Aaron. And yeah, this is a huge hit in Canada. What You Do to My Body was huge, and Hands On was huge. And this is just a great album. If you're a Canadian and you have nostalgia for the like 1989, 1990, really fun album. I'm finally glad I picked this up. She also had like kind of a heavier era too. She did a song called Metal Queen. Not on here, but I love Lee Aaron. I've seen her about 3 times, and she's great. Next band I got was a big seller in Canada in 1994. I had a lot of videos, and they were played a lot. And I got into them because they played my Frosh Week at university when I was going in. And it's a band called... Frosh Week is like your first week of university in Canada, and it's just party central. You just drink a lot and see a lot of concerts and have all that fun because you're 18 and all. So this is Moist. This is Moist. So I apologize for the name. Moist is now like a cringy word. They're probably regretting calling themselves Moist now. And yeah, this is the deluxe version, so it's 3 LP. It went quadruple platinum in Canada. So I think platinum in the States is 1 million up here though, because our population is like 10% of the States. It's 100,000, so it sold 400,000 copies in Canada, which is awesome. So you get the entire album on one vinyl, and then you have some outtakes and acoustic stuff on the second album. And then on the third album, you have a live concert in LA from 1994. And they're opening up for Collective Soul on that album. If you like Collective Soul, you'd like Moist. Uh, they toured a lot in the States as well, so you got some cool inner sleeves. I can't show one side of this one because it's got some nudity. And this one's really cool. It just showed you how hard they were touring. So this is a period of about 3 years. It shows more years because they go from 93 to 96, but 96 their second album came out. So this basically 93, 94, 95, constant touring. And it showed the supporting act and the dates. So on mine, I could see on September 8th that they opened up at McMaster University where I went. So it's kind of, I forgot the date I saw, but now I always know. And yeah, they toured with the Bare Naked Ladies, Collective Soul, like I said, Furnace Face, and this was a band from Vancouver. And yeah, they tour with a lot of bands that Junkyard, just so many bands that I've forgotten about, but kind of reminded about now. So the next batch of records I just want to show because they are what I really wanted to get into with album collecting. And so my mission statement when I started collecting vinyl was that I wanted to get all the Alice Coopers, all the Kiss albums, all the Bowie albums, all the studio albums at least, on vinyl because I only had them on cassette and CD, and I just wanted to experience them on vinyl. And I also wanted to get into soundtracks, particularly horror movie soundtracks. So this next batch is what I'm going to cover, and again, I'm going to rush through them. This first album is Alice Cooper's Billion Dollar Babies Live. So it's a tour from Houston, Texas in April of 1973. I couldn't buy this locally. I came out record store day. I went to about 8 stores because I wanted to save on shipping. Couldn't find it, so I had to mail order it. I got it for, price, like at the actual cost, but I had to pay like $20 for shipping. So, yeah. But as a Alice Cooper fanatic, this was a must-have for me. Jamie showed this really well, Jamie Cottle. So it comes with an LP and a 7-inch, and again, I just love that snakeskin innard. And it's a fun album. Alice Cooper always, excels with packaging, and this is no exception. Not as great as his last album, the live one from 2018, but this is still, I can't complain. I love this album, and it's great to hear Glenn Buxton on guitar. And they also have McMashbeer, I can't say that, on guitar, and they're supported by keyboards on this one. And they do some tracks you don't normally hear, like Unfinished Suite and My Stars and Raped and Friesen. And it's great to hear Glenn on guitar. And it sounds crisp and clear, and you can tell all 3 guitar players who's playing what. It's not all like mashed together in your head where you can't distinguish. So really cool. I love it. Next album, another Record Store Day exclusive, is Dragon Town. Originally, if you asked me like a year ago how I would place this in what I thought of Alice Cooper albums, because he's got about 30, I would have said bottom 5. And I think I thought that way because, so I liked this a lot when it came out in 2001. It was a follow-up to Brutal Planet, which was kind of industrial metal. But as you know, industrial metal has kind of fallen out of style. So I didn't like it as much when I listened to it last year. And I also listened to it while driving. And you can't listen to this while driving. This is on orange vinyl. You can't listen to it while driving. It's not a driving record. Not all vinyls or CDs you can listen to driving because Alice Cooper is best known for his lyrics. Like, he's always got a great supporting band, but it's his lyrics that really sell his albums. And the lyrics on here are fantastic. And I don't think it's as industrial metal as people want to say it is. It's kind of, it's got a lot of ballads, and he does one song, it's kind of rockabilly, where he kind of sings like Elvis. And it's just a fun album. And surprisingly, it was a big hit with the Christian community because I think it's on a Christian label. And Alice really explores, it's not over your head Christianity, but he explores some concepts that, talk about heaven and God and dying and stuff. And when you look at Christian periodicals, and I get this through Wikipedia, I haven't actually read the periodicals, but they gave it high ratings. But this is one of his lowest selling albums because it was, again, on an independent label. He never toured for this album, which is unfortunate because his Brutal Planet tour was phenomenal. It's one of his best tours ever. And Yeah, it just didn't sell well, and I think it should be given another chance if you're an Alice Cooper fan. Final Alice Cooper album I got this month is Dirty Diamonds. Thank you to Melinda again for reminding me that this was being reissued. They reissued 1,000 copies of this. They had original pressing of 1,000 on Record Store Day in April, but that was hard to get. It was on blood splattered like red and black vinyl. This is on translucent red. You got your inner sleeves here. Again, this was an album I would have put it in my bottom 10 of Alice Cooper, but now I'd say it's probably in my top 10. It's, again, something, I tried listening to while driving my car, and you just can't do it because Alice Cooper, again, is all about the lyrics. You really got to pay attention to those lyrics. That's why a lot of people love Alice Cooper. Of course, the music is solid, but it's those lyrics, man. They're not like poetic like Jim Morrison or anything, but there's a lot of depth and thought put into them, and he is just the master of lyrics. On to Kiss. This is probably my favorite Kiss album as it stands. It'll change tomorrow, I'm sure, as I run through more Kiss albums, but I think their first album, Kiss, this is 2014 reissue. The one from the UK, though, I couldn't get it in Canada for a decent price, so I get it from the UK, which surprisingly was cheaper too. I could have got in Canada for like 32 Canadian, but I got it from the UK for 18 plus $3 shipping, so it was like 21 bucks. The first album, it's just meat and potatoes rock and roll with jazzed up with all the glamminess. And what I like about this is that this is all four members. They're well represented, of course. Ace with his playing. Peter Criss is singing a lot of leads and backup tracks too. And Gene is great on this, and Paul is great. Maybe not their best songs, but probably their most beloved songs because a lot of these appear on Alive. And I just love Black Diamond and You've Got Nothing to Lose. I just love when Peter's voice kicks in. And I'm a big Kiss fan, and I've got a soft spot for all the albums, but right now this is my number one. Probably regarded as one of Kiss's worst albums. Not the Kiss as a band, but Kiss as a brand. Peter Criss's album. A lot of people give this like a 0 or a 2 because it's got no balls. It's just AM radio. It's easy listening, easy rock, Peter's crooning, but again, I love his voice. And I got this as a kid when I was like 13, and I just kind of liked it. It's a fun album. I've seen Peter Criss live once. He did a lot of these songs on here, and it was great. And I just like Peter Criss a lot. And maybe my second favorite Kiss album right now, I'm kind of between this and Revenge. It's Creatures of the Night. Again, another fun album. 2014 repressing. I paid a pretty penny for this. It went out of print, I think, and they kind of they got new stock in my store. Like I've been looking at it for about 2 years, and then it disappeared for a year. Finally came back, and yeah, fun album. Again, this is the most I paid for a Kiss album. And I'm glad I got it. I just had to get it when I saw it. I'm like, I'm not waiting around again for this to come down in price because it rarely does. My favorite tune on here is War Machine, but I Still Love You I like a lot. I know a lot of people don't like Paul's voice. What he does with the unplugged on with I Still Love You. He does like the voice Olympics or something. I forget what you call it, but I like it. I like how he does that. And Creatures of the Night is a great song too. I Love It Lad's a song that in concept I don't like because the video really frightened me as a kid because they all have those glowing eyes in the video. It frightened me. So, but I still like that song. That's all I'll say about that. Because I didn't know where I was going with that. Just remember that video is creepy. Next album is Bowie, and it is Changesonebowie. So no surprises here. With this album, you have a 50-50 chance of getting black vinyl or clear vinyl. I got the black version, and I'm happy with that. And yeah, just some hits. It's a great album to put on if you just want some Bowie hits. Wasn't essential for me because I'm just mostly after his studio albums, but I had that on cassette, so I have a fondness for it. It just reminds me of being 8 again because my brother had that on vinyl too. He listened to it a lot, and I heard it a lot. Next Bowie album, it's the first time I've heard it. It's Pinups. So this is his covers album. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, everyone probably watching this knows more about this than I do. I was only really familiar with his cover of Sorrow, and this kind of covers like I forget what they call it. But there's some certain type of British rock and roll that he does on here that I guess he grew up on, and he's covering, and that's Twiggy, the famous model, on the cover with Bowie. And there's nothing special about the innards to this. There's no special innard sleeve or anything or cutout or anything, but sounds great. Here Comes the Night is probably a famous song in here that they do. See Emily Play, I Can't Explain, and Where All the Good Times Gone are all covered on here. But yeah, fun album. Moving on to soundtracks, but continuing with Bowie, it's a cool New World soundtrack. This is a great album. So I'm more familiar with the album than the actual movie itself. I think the movie, it has Kim Basinger as a cartoon character and Brad Pitt as like a live action kind of thing going on, sort of like Roger Rabbit. Came out in 1992. So the big hit on here is David Bowie, Real Cool World. But then you get some like, well, I'll just read the label. You get a wide variety of music. I saved the hype sticker. I can't read it from here because the print's kind of small, so I'll just read it looking at it. So it says all 15 tracks from the original release, the alternative, ambient, trip hop, acid house, big beat, electro clash, new rave, dark wave, electronic, Eurobeat, industrial, metal, dance soundtrack. So it's kind of fun, that hype sticker. I just wanted to read it out. So you got David Bowie, Thompson Twins doing Play With Me, Ministry doing New World Order, The Future Sound of London, who I never really knew, The Cult doing The Witch. That is a great tune. I was very familiar with that. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, doing Sex on Wheels, and you got Moby and Brian Eno doing Under, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not that familiar with. This album does give me the heebie-jeebies, and I'll explain why in a second. Just here's the inner sleeve. I guess Kim Basinger isn't a cartoon. You can see her in the corner there. Both in one corner she's a cartoon, one corner she's not. And then you got Brad Pitt there, I think. I think that's Brad Pitt. Yeah, it looks like him. And then, yeah, you get the inner listing there. But to continue on with what I was saying, heebie-jeebies, this comes on flesh-colored vinyl. And for some reason, that just makes me not want to touch this album. I don't know why. This side has an etching, which you can't see at all. You can see it in person, but barely. So I can't even really capture it on vinyl. Yeah, you can't really see it, unfortunately. But basically, it's the album cover just etched on. And again, flesh-colored vinyl. 3 more albums to show. So I picked up some horror movie soundtracks. So this is the Halloween 4 soundtrack on vinyl. The artist who does this, his name's Gary Ghoulish. He does a lot of horror movie soundtracks. This is my hometown. I'm going to probably email him one day. I follow him on Instagram. He always does some cool stuff. I might email him one day and say, hey, could I meet you at a coffee shop and could you sign some stuff for me? Because I have a lot of his albums and books and stuff. And he's great. And I know he's big in Alice Cooper, so I'd probably gift him with some Alice Cooper vinyl or something as for his troubles. But yeah, this is great. This is a great album. Sounds fantastic. Crystal clear. This is on orange vinyl. And I picked it up on the cheap because it is on orange vinyl. There's some variants that run a lot more money. I don't really care about variants anymore. I've got every kind of variant possible. So it's not really a big deal to me anymore. Initially it was cool, but now I'm just happy with black or orange or whatever. White is actually my favorite. I don't know why. I just love white vinyl. I'm just super attracted to white vinyl. I have no clue why. I just think it looks cool when it's spinning. I guess because the contrast to the black arm and spindle of my record player. But yeah, orange vinyl. And I got that super cheap. Cost me 32 Canadian. So normally when you'd buy it, it'd be 25 American, but you have shipping on top of that. and duty charges and tax, it would run you like 60 Canadian. So to get that for 32 Canadian with no extra cost is a bargain. And then I got this one. It's Halloween 5. Again, it's on orange vinyl, and it's pretty cool. That's really cool. I kind of bought it more for that gatefold because you see Michael Myers in there. It's really creepy. And the music's great. The back cover looks kind of silly with his mask, but that's how he does look in the movie. And again, you get a nice little inner sleeve, which I'm about to show. And this one doesn't have any artwork on it, unfortunately, but it's got a nice little overview, which, you know, is always great. And yeah, it is on orange vinyl. Again, you know, I wasn't crazy about getting a variant, and it doesn't really have anything special about the labels, but it sounds fantastic. And when you buy a horror movie score or a movie score in general, I'm more concerned about the sound in the long run than how the vinyl looks. Although the Nightmare on Elm Street album that I have is very cool because it's got like a split green, red Freddy Krueger sweater thing going on, and they are cool, but again, yeah, sound is kind of more important. Final album, and I went over a half hour, so I'm sorry, but I've showed a lot of vinyl. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark soundtrack. I just love this movie, and you know, this and Jaws are two of my favorite scores. Of course, Star Wars is too. I'm waiting for like the perfect Star Wars vinyl to come out. My one pet peeve about this album is they show, this is such a nerd thing for me. They show Harrison Ford from Temple of Doom, which isn't Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I just wish they would have showed him from Raiders on the back. It kind of just ruins it for me. I don't know why. It comes on black vinyl. It sounds awesome. This is very crisp, very clear, no pops, no static. Exactly everything you would want, except for this minor quibble. Anyway, that wraps up everything. I hope everyone's having a safe and happy holiday. I hope everyone has a great 2020, and I look forward to watching everyone's videos this upcoming year. Until next time, cheers.